So, what if the concept or the creation of Christianity was created to suppress the feminine? Let's talk about it. In many practices, how the feminine is reverenced is always from a place of, especially in Eastern theory, where they're considered to be delicate, precious aspects of life that are to be honored and reverenced in different ways. But within Christianity, it made the feminine subservient. The aspect of that belief system that holds no voice, or only holds a voice that gives life to the masculine aspect in a way where the feminine is shadowed in a way where we know that that you can know that the feminine exists, but the feminine is always covered, out of sight. Always, there's a screen. There's a aspect of the feminine that is specific to the masculine that it is serving, that it is submissive to. And so from the place of submission that has been taught throughout a lot of time, that it is to keep women safe, when in actuality it actually makes women suppressed, but it has also created a lot of danger for women. So walk with me for a second. Think about how many times women have, when they've used their voice when they feel as though they were wronged in some way, they have been punished. Okay? They've either been beaten, raped, they've been put on display in all their nakedness and mocked. They've been made to feel as though who they are is something that's so fragile that it cannot stand. So the toxic feminine is here to prove that she is strong, that she can stand on her own, that she doesn't have to put up with the things that the toxic masculine does. But there is a balance that certain practices cannot uphold. It can't support it, because all of its foundation would crumble. Its ideology would not be able to stand. Honoring the feminine, all of the feminine, in its fullness, can only be expansive. The feminine is the feeling part. Not that the masculine does not feel, but it is the logical part. But the feminine is required. Those aspects of the feminine are required to call things into yourself, to be more present. Because logically, you can think and reason and analyze something for what it looks like, but it doesn't use all your senses. That's why we're normally limited to 6 senses. But we have more senses that we don't focus on, that are connected to the spiritual aspect of us, the feminine aspect of us, the nurturing aspect of us. It is connected to our intuition. And it's not to say that masculine is not intuitive, but the more toxic the masculine is, the less intuitive the masculine is. And the more toxic the feminine is, she exercises more in logic than her intuition, and it starts to break down her being. When I was super duper independent, like I was independent where I had a strong dislike for males. I would sleep with them. I had people that I call my friends. I worked with a bunch of men. I was literally like one of the homies. Okay. But I had this like distinct competition towards them within me, where I believed that I could do anything a man could do and better, to the point where I would just prove it. I don't care what I had to lift, what I had to move, how much money I had to make. My existence was shutting people up. And my ability to be able to logically process and analyze things was unmatched. I thought I was invincible, but it was literally breaking me down from the inside out, not being able to fully be present in how I felt and why I was even operating from a place of being so wounded. Like I was wounded. I had daddy issues, not because I never knew a father, but because what I needed had not been provided to me in the way that my wounded self needed it to be presented so that I could truly heal. And so it can be something as simple as you being a child born to parents who are not affectionate. But because you are a child that is connected to all of your emotions, you feel everything. And so sometimes you end up developing this thing where your emotions are not acknowledged, so you spend most of your life looking for acknowledgement. And it's not because they wanted you to be this way. It's literally because they didn't have the capacity to offer that to you. They didn't have an example of that. They were not in practice of that. Their parents probably didn't practice that. And if their parents did, it may have only been if they did good, if they did something acceptable. Like there's different reasons that people have the practices that they have, and normally is based on how they have been developed over time. That's why they tell you the first 7 years of a child's life is very important, because you're imprinting so much information on these children. They're learning survival mechanisms, how to be, how not to be, how to tiptoe around people and tap dance around people, and how to survive. They're learning how to survive. And if they're in survival mode, there are certain aspects of their being that they cannot exercise in without feeling like they're offending someone, or that they're undeserving of something, or some example of that. So, what if Christianity was created to suppress the divine feminine, to keep us from moving beyond or being more expansive within our whole self and finding balance? Because so many other practices teach balance from very young. Why does Western theory not teach that? Because it makes you more controllable when you're predictable.